Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an incredible story. A story from ancient Egypt that might just change how you think about the meaning of strength. We're talking about a tale of human conviction up against the full, crushing might of the Roman Empire.
All right, let's kick things off with a real head-scratcher. You got the Coptic Church of Egypt, right? It's one of the oldest Christian communities on the planet. But here's the really strange part. Their calendar doesn't start with the birth of Christ. Nope, it begins with the rise to power of the very man who tried to wipe them off the map.
So their calendar is called the Anno Martyrum, which literally means the Era of Martyrs. And it kicks off in 284 AD, the exact same year Emperor Diocletian took the throne. So you have to ask, why on earth would a community anchor its identity to a time of such brutal persecution? Well, to get that, we've got to look at the epic clash that forged them.
Let's set the stage, because this was a true clash of titans, a face-off between two massive, and I mean massively different forces.
Okay, so in one corner, you have the full, colossal power of the Roman state. We're talking about Emperor Diocletian, a guy who literally demanded to be worshipped as a god. His edicts were law, backed by legions and torture. And in the other corner, regular, everyday Egyptians, unarmed civilians. Their only weapon was their conviction and their sacred texts. That's it.
And the results? Well, it was absolutely horrific. A brutal persecution. Now look, getting precise numbers from that long ago is always tricky. But some Coptic historical sources from the period, they talk about violence on a staggering scale. We're talking as many as 144,000 people killed in less than a single year. Just let that sink in.
But here's where things get really interesting. Rome was facing a psychological defeat, a big one. We've actually found records of Roman governors, guys like Arrianus, writing these desperate letters back to the emperor. They just couldn't break the Christian spirit, and they couldn't explain it, so they chalked it up to some kind of powerful magic.
And you know, this whole magic thing, it perfectly illustrates what was really happening on a human level. The Romans were just completely unprepared for the kind of conviction they ran into.
See, this wasn't a population cowering in fear. Far from it. In some of these massacres, the historical accounts are just mind-blowing. They describe people willingly forming lines, parents presenting their own children to the executioner because they didn't see it as an end. To them, it was a victory.
And if you want one story that just perfectly captures this unbreakable will, you have to hear about Saint Damiana. She was a young noblewoman, and a Roman prince was sent with one specific job, to make an example of her, to torture her until she finally renounced her faith.
But she didn't break. The prince's own words just show his total frustration. According to the story, every time she was tortured, she was miraculously healed. And her resilience was so powerful that it inspired hundreds of people watching to declare their own faith, choosing to be executed right there alongside her.
Okay, so this gets us to a really crucial point about how they understood what they were doing. Because today, when we hear the word martyr, we immediately think of death. But that's not what the word originally meant at all.
The word actually comes from the Greek mightiest, and you know what that means? It means witness. That's it. So they didn't see themselves as victims seeking an end. No way. They saw themselves as witnesses, making a powerful, public statement for everyone to see.
So, a witness to what, you might be asking? Well, they were testifying to the idea that there was a truth greater than the emperor, that there was a power that violence couldn't defeat, that there was a life that was beyond the reach of Rome's swords. For them, that conviction was worth more than life itself.
So what's the legacy of all this? What's the lasting impact of this incredible history? And how does it finally answer that question we started with?
The Coptic Church starts its calendar with Diocletian not to glorify suffering, but to mark the very moment their identity was forged in fire. It was the moment their conviction proved to be stronger than an empire. It's the story of how they were born, not out of defeat, but out of an absolutely unbreakable will.
So you see, what looked like a horrifying end from the outside was actually, for them, their true beginning. This powerful act of being a witness became the very foundation of their church, creating a legacy of profound resilience that shapes the Coptic identity to this very day.
And that leaves us with one final thought. In a world that so often equates strength with dominance and physical power, what can we learn from a people who showed that true, lasting strength might not lie in the ability to inflict harm, but in the conviction to endure it?